Hello everyone, I am super excited because I have with me today Weijia Zhang, the regional head in China of Enterprise Ethereum Alliance and VP of Engineering of Wanchain. Thank you so much for being here, Weijia. How are you today?
Very good, thank you.
So the first question in this interview will be, what is your background before working at Wanchain and at the E.E.A?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Caitlin. Actually, I was not prepared for this question, but after I heard your introduction about yourself, I feel that I probably need to give more description about my background. So I think you came from Romania. I came from China. I got my engineering degree from a university called Tsinghua University. And everybody in China knows about this university, but people globally may not know it. This is almost the best engineering university in China, almost kind of a MIT in China, it's kind of that kind of style. I got my bachelor degree from there, and I came to US to study in a university called University of Nebraska in Lincoln. I got my PhD from there after 4 years of study. And my major was at that time science and engineering education, basically using technology to improve learning and teaching. So after that, I went to work for National Science Foundation project to improve high school teaching with new technologies and with modern instruction. And I feel that to improve education, we need to build some kind of sustainable organizations, companies. So that's why I went to industry to work in industry. I became a Dell engineer and work a lot on enterprise solutions for about 13 years and raised my family at that time, which is a wonderful time. And then I kind of started to build my startup. I went to build the educational company. And after 3 years trying, we built a very good product, but we cannot make it business sustainable. And at that time, Jack Liu came to me saying that he has a wonderful project called Wanchain, and he asked me to join him to kind of to build this Wanchain together and to push that further forward to the next level. Less after ICO, so I'm not the ICO person for Wanchain. I was after Wanchain has been ICO'd. So I joined Wanchain. It's a wonderful time, and then we built the office in US, and we released the mainnet in I think January 18, 2018. So it's a wonderful time, and then we built cross-chain solutions for Ethereum, then cross-chain solutions for Bitcoin, and then we joined E.E.A. Enterprise. Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and then began to help E.E.A. to expand in China. And also I work for E.E.A.'s CITF, Cross-Chain Interoperability Task Force. Actually, I was the one who started this task force. And from that point on, we have been kind of not just developing one-chain solutions and platform, but also build and then explore standards and specifications for interoperability across all these different blockchains.
Can you share with us the early stages more of Wanchain as a project? Maybe when it was only an idea, like you said earlier.
Yeah. Actually, if you want to talk about early stages, Wanchain, you have to talk about Jack. He was the CTO of Factum, a kind of Austin-based project for doing blockchain-based kind of called Factum. It's just taking record of all different kinds of rare estate properties and make it into blockchain so that they cannot be altered. It will stay in blockchain forever. So that's a Factum. In Chinese, it's called 公正通. It's almost like keeping records for everything in the world. That's non-changeable. And then Jack began to build supply chain in China, and then he came up with the idea of cross-chain operations for the whole blockchain community, because blockchain are very isolated, even at this time. And Jack was thinking about internet, the pre-internet stage, which is all the PCs are not connected together, and then we have internet, then we have World Wide Web, then all these PCs are connected, then we have HTTP protocol, TCP/IP to connect not just the hardware but also the transport layer and also the application layer. So the thinking of Wanchain is to be able to connect public blockchains and private blockchains together with some common TCP/IP type protocols, and that's what trigger Wanchain to be kind of brainstormed and then to be built. So Wanchain white paper describe in detail how we are going to connect public blockchain and private blockchain. And Wanchain is one of the few companies or organizations that actually do things according to what's written in the white paper and yellow paper. So if you look at the white paper and yellow paper, you have stages of connecting Wanchain, building first as a standalone blockchain, then connected to the public blockchain like Ethereum, the Bitcoin, and this heterogeneous blockchain together, and also with EOS and then Ripple and then Cosmos later. So a lot of connection with public blockchains. And then the private blockchain level, the enterprise blockchain level, we are able to connect the like Basu blockchain with Wanchain, and then from Wanchain going to the public blockchain. So these are for the private to public blockchain bridging. And then we're also building applications for that. So if you look at the development of Wanchain, you can see that starting from idea of connecting a blockchain together, just like connecting PC together, now we're going to the full-fledged of doing the both the bridging different blockchains and also doing the decentralized consensus as well. We working on POS, proof of stake, for kind of governing the blockchain of Wanchain. And then later on, we are also going beyond Wanchain as a hub, but going beyond Wanchain to bridge the blockchain together, for example, from Ethereum blockchain to Bitcoin blockchain. And not just that, we're also building the standard for that so that we don't have to build kind of piece by piece. We just have a standard coming up, then everybody can implement the bridge based on the standards.
In the last one talk, Jack Lu, the CEO of Wanchain, described to the community Wanchain 5.0 and some new releases that are coming soon. One of them was opening the Storman Group to the public and two-way bridge. Can you touch on these new releases that are coming soon, Weijia?
Yeah, okay, that's great. So we mentioned about building bridges for blockchains, right? And the actual bridge are implemented through a method called or a technology called Stallman. Stallman is the one that actually carry the asset, transport the assets from one source blockchain to a target blockchain. And then of course there are a lot of requirements for Stallman. You need to make sure these are atomic transactions. There need to be security, and also there should be performance as well. And Wanchain has atomic transaction for that, and also HTLC for that, the time log hash for that. And when we started the project, the Stallman are kind of controlled by Wanchain because of security reason. And the first point you mentioned about open Stallman is to be able to open up those Stallmans so that anybody can join Stallman business. They can just join kind of permissionless to function as a validator for blockchain, and they just need to stake their some WAN to the bridge, and then they can be a validator for that. So that's open Stallman to make Stallman fully open. Actually, at this time we began to open Stallman already to partners, but it's still kind of a little bit permissioned. It's not fully Wanchain. It's still Wanchain with partners. And with open Stallman, we are going to make it fully open. So anyone with Wanchain stake can join and become a Stallman for Wanchain bridges. So that's the first big thing coming up. And the second big thing is about two-way bridge. And I think when we do the bridging to Ethereum blockchain and the Bitcoin blockchain or EOS, we bring the asset from external blockchain to Wanchain, and just leave it there. Of course, you can redeem the asset back to the original source chain. So that's what we do with bridge. To some extent, that's one-way bridge because you're bringing the asset from external chains to Wanchain. And at this point, we want to bring the asset from Wanchain to other blockchain as well. So for example, you can issue a token in Ethereum blockchain, and by locking some WAN on one chain. So they kind of we bring the asset from one chain to external blockchain. So that is two-way bridge. This two-way bridge is served as a uh, kind of a pre-quad-chain application, a pre-quad-chain mechanism for direct bridge. In the later release, we are just kind of let Bitcoin and Ethereum get connect directly together. They become direct bridge. So, but that won't be in 5.0. That's 5.0 plus or beyond 5.0.
Weijia, how do you see this space evolve in the short and long future, especially in the interoperability space?
Yeah, well, thank you. That's a great question. I do see there's a great future for that if we work it right. I was the one who proposed cross-chain interoperability to E.E.A. Enterprise Ethereum Alliance because at this time, when you look at Ethereum blockchain, when you look at the Bitcoin blockchain or EOS, they don't talk to each other. And it's very difficult to do atomic transaction for asset, messages, or even later on function calls. And I think the short-term kind of future for interoperability is that we should be able to build standards to identify and describe blockchains. Because at this time, if you look at EIP 155 to identify blockchain, you just get numbers, a certain number to identify a blockchain. For example, you use a blockchain ID 1 to represent Ethereum blockchain, and then ID 3 for the testnet, things like that, right? But these numbers are not unique. It's very easy to conflict with each other, and there's no way to identify and authenticate a blockchain through a certain kind of a identifier. So we need to build standards for that to establish a kind of specification to describe and discover a blockchain. So that's something that we need to do for the specification of interoperability to identify and describe a blockchain and discover, of course. And second thing is that we need to specify and build standards for cross-chain transactions. For example, you should be able to say that, hey, I want to have transaction, but this transaction is not within the Ethereum blockchain. It's going to another blockchain, such as a Bitcoin blockchain. So you need to give a Bitcoin blockchain chain ID, and also you need to give a Bitcoin blockchain address, and then the bridge will carry the transaction from one source to another source, and this need to be atomic transaction. And later on, you need to build another one. You have a command. You issue a command. You suppose you want to run a smart contract. You can run a smart contract on Ethereum, and you say that I want to operate a command on Bitcoin using a script. And that way you can almost like a remote procedure call for blockchains. You just call a function in another blockchain from the source blockchain. And these all need standards for that. So the way I see is that organizations such as E.E.A, Hyperledger, IEEE is going to kind of converge into this interoperability area and produce their own version of standards initially, and then we are going to have some stable version of a standard coming up. So as soon as you say that I'm compliant with this standards, then people we will know about your blockchain, know about your bridges, so that we don't need to reinvent wheel all the time. We can just say, hey, I know this bridge because they are in compliance with E.E.A's cross-chain specification. Then I can begin build applications on that. I can discover blockchain based on the specification, and then can build layers based on that. I think we're working in that direction, but it's a long journey. But I think we're making good progress working with consensus Intel different companies in that area. Yeah, I want one more point on that one. Actually, we just released cross-chain interoperability use cases. We have the whole architecture layout as to have different layers for the cross-chain operation, and we also have like 12 use cases for that, like for the supply chain, for the finance, and for the cross-border transaction. All these are use cases and the problem we want to solve for the cross-chain interoperability.
I really appreciated the work that you are doing for this industry, and Weijia, thank you so much for taking the time to do this interview.
Well, thank you, Kaden. It's great talking to you and the community.
Thank you so much.